Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the 19th hole. We are live right there on In Between Media. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to the whole damn channel, and you make sure you jingle that bell for notifications. We have put the Pebble Beach Pro-Am in the books. We're headed southeastward to Arizona for Super Week in the desert. TPC Scottsdale for the rowdy, the raucous, the heavily inebriated WM Phoenix Open at TPC Scottsdale. There's going to be huge crowds. They're all going to be absolutely schnockered. We're going to get into it right after this. Yes, again, we have Mike Kosiek here. He is from RTG Podcast, the DFS specialist, reading the greens. Like, are we using aim point, though? Are we using aim point? Because some people hate aim point. I don't really care. We might have to talk about pace of play briskly tonight because it's the hot topic, the flavor of the week or month or year. Who's counting anymore? Mike, pleased to have you back. Connor Coughlin's still a little bit under the weather. We're going to get him back next week for sure. As long as he can pull through, he'll be fine.
My assumption was you were having me back because I had some fire takes last week, but I think you informed me about 2 minutes before the show I'm like your good luck charm, and you go and clean up in the RTG Listener League, you and Connor, and that's why you have me back.
I said that, but I'm also thinking, like, what did that really change from before? Because I'm usually on the podium in that tournament, and so is Connor. Connor won that last week, and I finished runner-up. I had the win in hand, but he had Justin Rose for the dagger at the end to take the title and the extra $7. I was really ticked off about that. I thought I was going to get another free cold brew at Starbucks with that winning. But Connor's still under the weather. But yeah, your performance last week actually vaulted you to the top of our alternate host list of people to call in case of emergency. In case of emergency, break glass, call Mike.
Is this a Drew Bledsoe situation here?
I mean, it sounds like what he was under he had trouble breathing, collapsed lung, concussion, maybe blows to the head. I'm not sure. I mean, he is married with a kid, so I'm sure he's not doing great even when he's healthy. but yeah, Mike. All right. Yeah, it's good. It's not quite a Drew Bledsoe, but yeah, it's good to have you back for 2 tournaments in a row. Last week was my favorite tournament, and this week is a lot of people's favorite tournament because it's so much fun. It's just a good time. There's nothing stuffy about the Phoenix Open, is there, Mike?
There isn't. Let me ask you this. Have you been?
I haven't. February is really tough to organize for me. So traditionally, I get to watch it from home and not go to spring training, not go to Vegas and bet on Super Bowls, which I have done plenty of times, even when the Super Bowl was in Arizona, which makes it even more fun because, I mean, Phoenix and Las Vegas are not very far apart. They're a few hours drive from each other. That's my dream scenario, is to go bet on the game in Vegas and then drive to Phoenix for a Super Bowl at the Toaster there in Scottsdale. But the WM, I have to go one of these times. I'm a Chico State alum. Arizona State up there in the party rankings with Chico State every year. I think the guys and gals in Tempe, they know how to rock. And so it would be a great atmosphere to join and probably throw back a few sudsy brewskis out there in solidarity.
I can't.
Oh, no, I wouldn't even try. I'm 37. I'm about to be 38 in a couple of months. I'm not trying to keep up with anybody.
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing the carnage on TV on the golf course next to the golf course. And you know we're going to get something.
All right. So with the Pebble Beach in the review, let's kind of recap what happened last week and kind of lead into what's in the news this week with the news Niblick. Have you ever hit a Niblick?
No.
Yeah. Look it up. Google it. Top news story. It's all coming up gold for the Irish. Rory McIlroy wins going away at the Pebble Beach Pro-Am, and his countryman or island mate, Shane Lowry, finished as second. That was my overall pick last week. I laddered him. Thankfully, I laddered him because I cashed the top 5 and the top 10. And don't forget, little Seamus Power, former winner of the Pebble Beach Pro-Am, finished tied for 17th to cash that top 20 ticket that I told you all to take advantage of. We were in the money last week just by betting the Irish. I mean, why would you ever bet against the Irish, especially when here in NorCal, it's raining sideways? And we got a little taste of that at the Pro-Am, and it's still like that out there right now. It is 40-mile-an-hour gusts and lots of rain, and not unlike the Emerald Isle over there across the Atlantic Ocean. They were right at home. Rory was sensational. What did he make, like 5 eagles on the week? Insane, including each one of them with an ace. Rory aced a hole at Spyglass, and Shane, of course, aced the famous number 7 on Thursday, I believe. What a great tournament. What's your take on the Irish takeover of Northern California and what this means for the rest of the season for these 2 golfers in particular?
Oh gosh, if that's not I'm surprised there wasn't more discourse about Rory winning 10 to 12 events this year. Maybe I saw one take on it. Here's the thing. You were all over Shane. We expected Shane to play well in these conditions. We expected him, we said elite driver of the golf ball, going to play great on a golf course that rewards excellent ball striking. Mm-hmm. It was surprising that he got a little sloppy around the greens. The guy that's masterful with the wedge in his hand got a little sloppy on the front 9 on Sunday, and ultimately just set himself too far back. He played great on the back, but he was just too far back at that point. But here's the thing on Rory. We said that distance at this golf course matters because of what it does in your golf bag, not necessarily off the tee. So I was very surprised to see Rory play this well throughout the entire week, doing things that Rory typically doesn't do well, which is have
wedge play.
Wedge play. We're so used to seeing him hit 375-yard bombs all day long, put himself in great position, and cough up strokes 150 yards in it. And he did the exact opposite. Basically, what it came down to was his weapon off the tee was valid for 1 shot each day. And that was the tee shot on 14, which he annihilated.
I've stood on that tee box before. And let me tell you that the angle he took over that cypress tree it's not even thought of. It's so insane that nobody's even thinking about that angle because of how stupid it is.
I looked away on the broadcast on Sunday. Shane hit, I think, 3-iron into 14, hit it on the green on the front edge. And Rory with a 7-iron, and he goes right at that back left.
A chopped 7-iron into a crosswind. Yeah.
So that was worth multiple shots on the week. But I think it was, like you said, it was his wedge game that came up big. It's not what we were reading into. And that's what did it. That's what gave him a multi-shot win this week.
And that was the thing that set Lowry apart the other direction, is we expected Lowry to come with that great wedge approach play, and it wasn't quite as sharp as it needed to be. And Rory just went scorched earth. He lit that place ablaze on the weekend, especially Sunday, going down the stretch. Just when you thought the field was starting to kind of gain ground and figure out these Poana greens kind of heating up a little bit with the drier weather on Sunday, that's when Rory drops an eagle and puts his lead back up to 3 strokes. And you're like, yeah, that's probably it. that's all she wrote. That's curtains.
So Rory shows up and he's Rory for a weekend here in a good field on a tough golf course. Rory wins 1 major this year. Which major is it?
Based on his skill set, probably the US Open. I think that he gets revenge for what happened last year at Pinehurst.
You don't forget that we got the PGA Quail Hollow, which he has owned.
That's his course. Yeah, that I mean, it is Rory Quail Hollow. That's the full name of the golf course.
Trying to bait you into the career Grand Slam at Augusta, but
I've seen enough of him at Augusta to not really believe in him. And Augusta is the most correlative to past performance on the PGA Tour. So I'm not going that far. But the U.S. Open, where it is this year and how his game lines up, of course, Quail Hollow, he's going to be a favorite there. But I think Rory, just as well as any of the top golfers like Xander, once he's healthy, and Scottie, of course, they're going to have just as good of a chance at Quail Hollow, which is a very fair golf course. I don't think Rory does as well in a fair fight, but if it's tilted in his favor, like it will be at the U.S. Open, I think we're looking at something that Rory could go out there and out muscle it like he did at Pebble on this last week. Moving on, we do have to offer some somber news. Tiger Woods' famous mother did pass away. Kultida Woods, legend in her own right. Everybody wants to talk about how great of a father and how great Earl Woods was at developing Tiger into the supreme athlete and greatest of all time that he was. But guess what? Behind every great athlete, performer in any sector of the world, there's a good mom. And Kultida Woods, probably one of the greatest moms to ever walk the earth. She was always there for him. Long before Earl passed, long after Earl passed, she was just at the TGL a couple weeks ago cheering on Tiger. And it's a simulation league on TV with all the bros, and Cheetah Woods is still out there in the in the gallery cheering him on. He was offering some banter there. It's really hard to say goodbye to somebody so legendary like Kultida Woods. Rest in peace, ma'am. You are a legend. You were a legend, and Tiger is every bit of what he is and has been because of you. So that's my take on that. Mike, you have any parting words for Kultida Woods? That's
well said. I'll echo that and have a drink. She, like you said, she's synonymous with his success. She's been there every moment on TV over the last 25 years. She certainly wasn't outspoken. She wasn't Earl. And so it's hard for me to place exactly what gave her that image, but I think it was just that stoicism in backing her boy for so many years. So,
and stories that he's told about her where she throws jabs at him just as well as anybody. Obviously Tiger's known for his self-deprecation at every turn, keeping himself level, but I bet you that comes from his mom. It's just like, hey, stay focused. It's like, we know you're the greatest, but we can't be getting complacent around these parts. All right, moving on. Final, we got Super Week in the desert. It is Super Bowl week. Everybody's in New Orleans for the Super Bowl between the Eagles and Chiefs. The sports books are on fire, and here we are. I'm throwing out some parlays between Super Bowl action and the WM. It paid off big time 2 years ago when I parlayed Scottie Scheffler and the Chiefs. I think I might go and do that again this year just for shits and giggles. But Super Week means the sports books are getting hammered with bets, and hopefully we can hammer them by cashing those bets on the WM Phoenix Open. I think that it's noteworthy to say that this week it also marks kind of the spring is arriving, because pitchers and catchers are reporting in Scottsdale right soon after the WM. Everybody's going to be in town. It's going to be a party. And that's what I'm ready for, is the excitement that the WM symbolizes. Spring is upon us. I don't care about Puxatawny Phil. Stupid groundhog doesn't make a lick of difference. The WM is my groundhog.
What'd you get Chiefs and Scottie at? 400
plus 586.
Okay, 600, 586.
Yeah,
yeah. I mean,
it's fun. You throw $20 on it, win 100, call it a day.
Here's an unpopular take. I am neither a Chiefs nor Eagles fan. I'm a Minnesota sports fan, so very rarely,
and
possibly in my lifetime, will not get to cheer for a team in a championship.
No, it's never happened.
And it's
Well,
almost not happened in my
it
lifetime.
happened one time with Fran Tarkenton way back in the day,
Before I was born.
and then you had the Gary Anderson game.
What are you doing? I would try to make a point. My point is, this is an unpopular take. So if I have to pick a team to root for this week, God, people hate me for this. I go with the side of history. I want to be able to live through and watch dynasties unfold and say, this is what was happening. This is what it was like when the Chiefs won 3 Super Bowls in a row. So do I want them to win the Super Bowl? I'm not really going to cheer for them, but am I going to step back when they're hoisting the trophy on Sunday and say, this is actually like a big deal? It was the same thing with Tom Brady. And so don't call me a Chiefs fan, but I kind of want to see it.
I do too. I'm with you 100%. I'm a Dallas Cowboys fan, being from NorCal. I think the 49ers fan base is the worst in all of sports, like period. All of sports, any sport, professional, college, high school. I hate 49ers fans more than anything. And so being a kid of the 90s, growing up, I cheered for the Cowboys. I still do, even though there's not much to cheer about. The difference is I will never root for the Eagles either. And I like Patrick Mahomes for all the stuff, the shit that he gets. The dude is squeaky clean. I mean, his family's not, but he is. He's a stand-up guy. He's a family guy, and he's one of the greatest that we've ever watched. And I like watching good football. Guess what happens every time I turn on the Chiefs playing football? It's really good. And Bill Belichick said it perfectly today. He said the way to get calls is to play good football. Imagine that coming from the damn GOAT himself. All right. So what do you say we break down TPC Scottsdale, do the caddy notes? This golf course is pretty remarkable, actually. It's kind of a fun deal. We got some noteworthy holes to go over. Let's hit the caddy notes. All right, TPC Scottsdale in Scottsdale, Arizona, believe it or not. And it's a par 71, 7,200 and change, almost 7,300 yards, depending on where they put the tee boxes and the hole locations. Fairways and greens are Bermuda overseeded with rye. Not really noteworthy. These greens do run quicker than what we've seen so far on tour this year, just because it's dry and they don't get much moisture. So imagine that they run a little faster. Overall, the weather is going to be perfect. Low 70s, light winds. Scoring is going to be favorable. I still think this course has enough teeth to keep the winning score around 20 under par. That's traditionally what it is. Scottie's won 2 of the 3 last times. He finished 3rd last year in a very disappointing outcome for him. This dude owns Scottsdale, but his winning scores are 14 and 18 under par, I believe, somewhere in that range. So this course does have some teeth. It's got a really cool setup. Of course, you got the stadium hole on number 16, but the drivable par 4 with water on the left and behind the green on 17. That one's fun. And of course, 18 is the deal breaker. That's the course that likes to chew people up and spit them out. You're holding a 2-shot lead going into the 72nd hole on Sunday. It gets a little nervy because that hole is a bear. And so this finishing stretch at Scottsdale is very noteworthy. The rest of the course is really nice. I think it sets up fair. And I say that because there's not really one stat to build upon. You kind of have to do the whole bag thing and expand it out, see who's playing well now, who plays well on fast greens. But if you just run a simple model with 4 or 5 key stats, it's going to spit out some good golfers. And of course, this is the 3rd most correlative course to past success on PGA Tour, behind Augusta National and Waialae Country Club at the Sony Open. So very, very keen on playing guys that play well here before. Mike, what is your take on TPC Scottsdale, and who do you think will be propped up by this golf course?
Got a lot of thoughts. I think you did an excellent job introducing the golf course. It's funny. We often think about, 3 holes. It's kind of like TPC. So it's a TPC course. You end up with this sort of welcoming you, meandering through the property to end with this crescendo of golf. It's exactly right. I mean, it's the same thing happens at Sawgrass as well.
Yep.
I love the fact that we've played this golf tournament here forever. And so as far as ShotLink goes back, you basically get like 25 years of data. And so to your point,
useful.
It's very easy. It's very useful. You can find the players and the stat profiles that play here. On your point about needing to use the whole bag, this is what I think is really interesting about this golf course. You're right. There isn't one predominant stamp profile that leads to a win. Whether it's elite driving, elite iron play, or elite putting, you probably need 2 of 3, but you don't need 3. And you don't need a certain 2. So you see guys like last year, Nick Taylor, Charlie Hoffman dominate the field in putting and hit. Nick Taylor, I can't remember where he finished off the tee, but just hits it all over the place, ends up winning in a playoff. But then you have weeks where you have guys like Scottie Scheffler or even Justin Thomas who have showed up here and hit the ball very well off the tee and haven't had to do quite as much on the greens. It rewards a lot of different styles of play. And I think that's what makes this tournament really fun. Is we can say, I'm going to go through a player pool based on course history, but it's got a lot of different styles of play in it. And so you can get kind of funky with your pool this week, which on the DFS side, you're going to have to do. And I'm sure we'll get into a little bit when we think about
there's some oddballs in there. I'm going to tell you right now, you're going to love my lineup for the RTG Listener League because I'm going to make you audibly chuckle when you see my lineup. Let's just say that.
So anyways, maybe I can offer this. So I mean, given the course history thing, if I were to look back at the last 5 years of this tournament and guys that finished top 5, the list of guys is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. There are 13 players in the golf tournament this week.
13 unique players.
Yeah, that have at least one top 5 in the last year. And if you look at some of the projections, you'll say we're almost guaranteed that somebody who's finished in the top 7 here is going to win. That's been a precursor to success. And so you wouldn't be surprised to hear that Scheffler is in the mix, Thomas is in the mix, Cantlay, right? Charlie Hoffman, Sam Burns, Sahith
Interesting
Theegala.
You brought up a guy named Scottie Scheffler. That's odd.
I know. Nick Taylor, Jason Day, and then you can just get further down the board. Yes, Jordan Spieth is in this golf tournament. Webb Simpson won here a handful of years ago. We beat Tony Finau. But you can get weird. You can take guys that aren't playing good golf that are going to show up here and play well, and you can take guys that are playing really good golf and are going to show up here and play even better. So I'm super focused on course history this week, as I know a lot of others will be. But to me, that's going to be a tie-breaking stat when I start running a model.
Yeah, I'm with you 100%. I just ran my filter for just TPC Scottsdale with the stats that I'm running here, and it didn't change much. It did not change much. It kind of just rearranged the top of the board here. So yeah, I'm not going to be adjusting my model too much because a lot of these guys have 24, 36 rounds at TPC Scottsdale because they've been playing this course forever. What do you say we bet on some golf, Mike?
Let's go.
All right, let's twirl some clubs. Hit it. Well, there's, by the way, all the odds we're pulling are from DraftKings Sportsbooks as of right now. So live sports odds. Scottie Scheffler plus 275, extremely short odds. Plus 275 for a guy who's won 2 of the last 3 years. He won in 22, 23, finished 3rd in 24. And he just finished pretty high up after not playing very much golf at all. Comes out, rolls out of bed, bandaged hand, comes to Pebble Beach. Of course, it fits him pretty well, but he rolls out of bed, gets a top 10. What do you think of the odds here? Is it a misprice? Is it too short? Are you going to be live betting him like me again? Because as soon as he bogeyed the first hole on Thursday, he jumped to plus 700, and I took a couple shots there. I didn't really go farther than that because he was just kind of flatlining most of the week. He was always within like striking distance, but his off the tee game was a little squirrely, and that won't penalize him as much this week.
There was a moment on Sunday where I did think there was an outside chance. I think he missed a short-ish birdie on 12.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, if that goes in, he's 3 back.
If that went in and 14-15, I think he would have put a charge on. But that was that 12th. It was like 4.5 feet or something crazy. He had hit a stick right in, stuck a wedge right in there. And I was like, oh man, if he makes that, we are live on Scottie. But he burned the edge, and that was it. And that was pretty, like, he birdied the next 2 holes after that, but he was still, that was about when Rory was catching fire at the same time. So, but yeah, Scottie Scheffler plus 275. I got him at plus 300 yesterday. What do you think?
No, thanks.
No.
I mean,
what do you think his odds of winning are, though?
He is. Where is he? Is he first in the field in course history?
Second behind JT.
Second, behind JT. His odds, I mean, they're not that far off this. Like, I think we saw enough last week, get some of the rest off. I mean, maybe it's 1 in 5, 1 in 4. Like 275 is pretty short, and I'm not going to be able to retire on my Scottie winnings.
No.
That's the case, but I don't need to go there this week on the betting side. DFS is a different conversation.
Yes. All right. So that being the case, I will be watching intently to see those odds slip, because this is a golf course where if Scottie gets hot, he absolutely can erase any size of deficit on the scoreboard. So if he does slip like he did at Pebble Beach early on, I'm going to be all over that betting model. And I am, of course, going to be betting plus 586 on Scottie and the Chiefs money line, because it's fun, guys. Betting is supposed to be fun. Win, lose, or draw. We're getting skin in the game. We're all about that action, boss. But JT at plus 1200, I think, is even more offensive than plus 275 for Scottie. Even with the course history, we haven't seen the good JT for a while now.
I think JT, I agree with you. I would not go there at 12. I think you have some other options here coming up as you trickle down the board. JT very well could show up this week. I mean, again, this is a golf course where he's hit the ball particularly well off the tee. He has not done that this season. Mm-hmm. And so you want to take a look at the form he's had coming into some of those really good finishes. Now, he is playing better this year than he was last year or the year before. So would we be surprised? No. But again, at 12-1, I have much better options as we get into the next few sections here than to take JT at 12.
Completely agree. He's 42nd in my model. And to outline what you just said, strokes gained off the tee, key stat this week, 140th. Not great. That's really rough. Going down the board, Hideki Matsuyama here, 16-1. I think that's a pretty appealing because he has pretty decent course history here. I think that number will get shorter as we get closer to Thursday. Hideki Matsuyama on a course with teeth requires good ball striking. I think I'm more inclined to bet him, even though I'm not a huge fan of anybody in this top tier. I think they're all too short.
Yeah, I am a little surprised if you just think the Scottie effect might give us a little more leverage. Hideki's always going to be an injury concern. If this is his 4th or 5th week in a row, I mean, is that an indication that he's healthy? Or is that an indication that he's about to strain something?
He's due for a vacation. Oh, my back. Oh, Thursday, second hole after lock. Done.
I would say he is untouchable in DFS and Survivor, which I want to get a thought on later on here in the show. But I'd stay away from Hideki.
I'm interested in Sam Burns at 22-1, but more for DFS, honestly. Sam Burns is going to be my DFS hammer this week, especially as a play that nobody's really paying attention to at this point. I'm not really sure why, because Tom Kim's getting all the steam at 30-1, and I can see Tom Kim winning here, but I mean, are we being serious? This is the pace of play guy. Like everybody's talking about pace of play and aim point, and we didn't talk about it in the news, Niblick, because I decided it just didn't need to be done. But Tom Kim, very talented player, finished top 5 at Pebble Beach last week. I don't know that he's consistent enough on a golf course this widespread. Like the full bag has to be rocking to win here. And Tom Kim is decent from tee to green, but his short game has not been all that great.
There's one guy that's going to feed off the energy in the gallery this week. It's going to be Tom Kim, and maybe that provides a little extra motivation, but I could see that. Sam Burns, it's interesting that you want to go on the DFS side. I actually came in tonight with the opposite thought. I mean, 10K for Sam Burns on the DFS side means you very likely are choosing to play Sam instead of anybody else on the top of the board. And if you're going to go ahead and fade Scottie in DFS and you want to go play Sam, that's fine. Sam is 12th in the field when it comes to strokes gained at TPC. Does he got enough in the bag to, from an iron play standpoint? He just never really seems to get the irons going at this golf course. But like I said, you could be a little sloppy if he's going to putt like he normally does, and he's going to hit the ball well off the tee. I kind of like the number at it's 22 now, 25 a little bit earlier today. I kind of thought that was a little bit better value than paying 10,000 and having to fade Scottie and on the DFS side. But in either market, I like Sam.
Yeah, I was looking at more of like a wholesale like leverage play, where that 10K number is going to keep ownership way low on the DFS side.
I don't know. He might. I mean, I think you can, if you want to go and listen to a true DFS podcast and like really get into game theory, I might suggest either like Andy Lack on Inside Golf or Rick Gaiman. But I think you're probably going to end up with like 15 to 20% ownership on everybody else in the 10K range, because it's all the people that are choosing not to play Scottie at 40 or 50.
Spreading it. Yeah. And I'm just looking at the guys around him, Hideki, JT, Tom Kim, Sepp Straka, who's playing out of his goddamn mind right now. And then another horse for the course, Sahith Theegala, who's been playing absolutely atrocious golf for the last year since the last year's Phoenix Open. What do we have other than course history to indicate that Sahith Theegala is ready for this week? I'm not betting him at 40-1, and I don't want to touch him in DFS because he's so volatile.
I know, but that's what makes it fun. And I actually kind of think like 40 might be enough upside with his course history here to just show up and play well. It's, he's second or he's up top 5 in strokes gained at this golf course. Not that high in my model. The model I ran, he's nowhere near the top half. But
is there anybody that strikes your fancy here shorter than 50-1?
Well, let's see how this has updated. 50-1, shorter than 51. No, Sungjae. Sungjae's probably the only one right now on the RTG side, which is a DFS analysis. We got him at the top power play in our model right now. Surprisingly good experience on this golf course. We've talked about him being a sneaky good Bermuda putter as well. Typically plays early in the season between Florida and California. Again, we said last week he had been fairly uninspiring when it came down the stretch at Torrey. Does he got it in the tank to finish to go and get a W here in a tough field? I don't know, but I'm interested in Sungjae on the DFS side. 50. What do we got? 22-1. That's probably a little short now for Sungjae, but he was the only one that I had flagged. Okay.
All right. And I don't have anybody else. I'm going to jump all the way down to Kurt Kitayama. Shout out NorCal. 60-1, number 2 in my model behind Scottie. Number 1 from tee to green with these parameters. Number 2 in ball striking. Number 3 in bogey avoidance. Number 11 in scrambling. 5th in the iron play. And 2nd on the par 5 distances that we're going to have on all 3 of these par 5s. Kurt Kitayama lives in the desert. He's from the Northern California plains. Basically, the valley is dry and windy, just like the desert. He lives in Vegas. I just think that this is a perfect match for Kurt Kitayama's game, especially with how he's striking the ball. And his putting has been hotter lately. So give me a guy who's going to be rounding into form at this type of event. 60-1. It's pretty nice.
I think that's a good number. I've heard a lot of talk about dark horse Kurt Kitayama this week. I'm trying to figure out how people got there. Like you said, like he's got the familiarity to the area, the desert style golf, cut at the Farmers, T58 at the Amex, T37 at Sony. I don't know. I mean, I'm not necessarily saying the form is coming in here, but he does have some good history here at TPC. So if we're going to, again, on the DFS side, if you can get a little bit of leverage, 60 to 1 is a good number. I could, if you're going to fade, especially if you're going to fade that whole 20, 30, 40 range. Load up on.
And if you're a regular viewer of the show, you know that I competed against Kurt's older brother in high school. It was one-sided in his favor. Daniel Kitayama, great golfer in his own right.
Are we talking about golf?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, he was the best NorCal high school golfer, and then of course little Kurt was like 9 or 10 years old at the time we were in high school, and so it was really cool because he would that was the one player that was good enough where his parents and his family would follow him in tournaments like as a gallery. Like nobody else had family at these meets because they're in the middle of the afternoon, and the Kitayamas were always there, and most of the time Daniel won. But I was talking to him because I was playing with him one time, and he was just like, yeah, I'm already losing to my little brother. And that was Kurt. And the rest is history because Daniel was a good collegiate golfer at Hawaii Hilo, but of course Kurt goes to UNLV, and now he's topped out in top 30 in the world rankings.
Yeah, super cool. Good connection. Gives you got to root for.
Yeah, I definitely do, especially on TPC Scottsdale. All right, I'm also looking at Luke Clanton. I mean, it's a guy who comes in top 5 in my model. Absolutely nails off the tee, birdie making machine. Kind of like a poor man's Scottie Scheffler, if you're being honest. Not the best scrambler. He's a very aggressive player. So bogey avoidance and scrambling, not his strong suit. But I think if he finds some early form, we're gonna be in the money.
I don't mind. I mean, I'm rooting for Luke in general. I think it's a cool story. The fact what he's doing as an amateur, still in school, like basically, like. And I tried to figure this out. Like, is he trying to go the Nick Dunlap route where he knows he can get, like, if he turns pro, he's got no status, and he's got to go grind his way to the PGA Tour. Here, he's going to get sponsors exemption if he could and he's got it. He can win in any field.
And if he wins, he can turn pro and he's set.
Locks up his future. It's the Nick Dunlap route. I do wonder if we'll see that more with the top collegiate golfers. Obviously, he can go out and win PGA Tour U. I don't have the rankings in front of me. Maybe he's a lock for that as well. But
he's the top ranked player.
Yeah. So it does seem like staying in school is the way to do this to secure his future.
Especially with NIL, he's getting plenty of sponsorship money.
Going to make more money than he make playing Corn Ferry. So
for sure.
Other guys in this range that got my attention. If we go down to, you got Luke Clanton. I think Sam Stevens coming in 70 to 1 right now. Sam is having a sneaky good spring. And again, you want to think about guys that could absolutely destroy this golf course off the tee. Sam is got the length, and he could certainly go on win just on ball striking alone. So I do think Sam Stevens is definitely in the mix. And another guy that I'm surprised both on the DFS side and on the betting side, I could take a look at Andrew Novak, 75 to 1 now. I think Andrew Novak's in the mix. He's had a couple of good weeks out. He finished, was he top 5 at Rory? Had another good week last week.
Yeah.
And so I think he's another guy I'd look at in that range. Again, probably a better top 10 play, but I would mix him in DFS, and why not take a flyer at 75 to 1?
Yeah, along those same lines, look what Lucas Glover did last week. Like, he's been complaining about aim point and pace of play, but for once, he was better than awful putting at Pebble Beach, and when he's better than awful putting, this guy chases the top of the leaderboard. One of the best ball strikers on tour, going out at 80 to 1. Lucas Glover, birdie making machine, obviously great at avoiding bogeys despite being a terrible putter. traditionally. One of the best approach players out there. Lucas Glover, I think, has the firepower, especially with the way he's rolling it right now. I think he's every bit live here, coming in at 8th in my model. And Novak, to your credit, is 20th. And Stevens 14th. So they're all right there. We got the same kind of modeling going and favoring the same guys. I'm with you on Novak, but I'm also thinking a little extra juice on Lucas Glover might be worth the squeeze.
Yeah, Luke is definitely going to avoid attention of at least the casuals who just are tired of playing Lucas Glover. When is this guy going to fizzle out? He can't be this good this long. Only because I promised the listeners that I'd run back a Tom Hoge take this week. This is a guy that's not solid. I mean, as an aside, you threw out your amateur golf connections. Tom Hoge's a guy that I've crossed paths with in my amateur career, a little bit later than high school and some of stuff post college. But he's from Fargo, North Dakota, and he was the best golfer in the area at a couple of tournaments that we ran through. And miles ahead of people. And so it's really cool to then see that play out as a PGA Tour winner and a guy that's top 40 in the world that I saw play in 2011 on a tiny little golf course in northern Minnesota. If you thought Tom was a good course fit last week, this is the thing I don't understand too on the DFS side. We have a weaker field. In general, we have a weaker field this week.
Yep.
And Tommy's price is going to increase by $100. $7,400 this week. And I'm not quite getting that. I got him. I kind of lost him in my model here, but he's absolutely dialed with his irons right now. He gained, first of all, he finished T17 at Pebble Beach last week, which I think was fair given where we were playing him, but gained 6 strokes on approach at Pebble, gained 6 strokes on approach at the Amex, gained 4 strokes on approach at the Sony, 6 on approach at the Century. Like, he is dialed right now in his irons. I think that's what he does best. And so we get a flat week putting, maybe a tiny bit positive. This could be another, top 10. Again, is Tom Hoge going to win the Wimpo with Scottie and all these guys in the field? Probably not, but I do like him top 5, top 10, fun DFS play for 7,400. And again, if you're going to go down and throw 80 to 1 on him, I got to run it back on my guy, Tommy Tables.
Yeah, I can't support that with my modeling, but it's interesting. I always root for Hoge. It's fun. It's a fun story, and the dude is dialed with his irons. I just hope the rest of his game can support that because it's not looking great.
Last week. We're going to tell the fans though, you played him in the RTG League, and I was about to chirp you and say, "Come on, dude, you can't take my guy."
Yeah, no, it was just the Pebble Beach correlation. Like, I played a lot of guys because Pebble Beach had a lot of correlation too. Not as much as Phoenix, but I like to play horses for courses on these highly correlative courses. Hoge was my definite value play for Pebble Beach. I'm not in on him for Phoenix this week, unfortunately. But I am very much involved going after another guy who's dominated at the Phoenix Open, and that's Gary Woodland. This is a 90-1 pick who has great course history. Previous winner, long time ago. I think last year was a great story coming back from brain surgery. I think he's just going to keep getting stronger, and these early West Coast swing courses really do suit. He's a Kansas native, but it just seems like he's a California guy with the way he plays. Gary Woodland at 90-1 is just too long for me to ignore. This is a guy who plays really well out west, and I want to get a piece of that because I think he's going to come back to his previous form a few years ago, because I think going back farther than we want to think, that brain aneurysm or whatever he was dealing with was probably lingering longer than we expected, and it just kind of came to a head where he had to kind of save his own life that way. But I think he's going to get stronger, and he's going to be back in the winner circle this season. It wouldn't surprise me at all if he won again at Phoenix.
Is there a guy that's more immortalized in Phoenix Open lore than Gary Woodland with his, with Amy Bockerstedt and that practice round moment? You talk about a guy that's been through a lot, but also has done some pretty special things around this golf tournament. Actually played pretty well last week after the WD at Torrey Pines. So like you said, the horses for courses here. You can't deny that Gary would, no surprise, show up here and certainly top 20, top 10.
Yeah, that's for sure, especially with those odds. All right, let's see here. We go through, and I have one more deep shot. Do you have any more of these guys in that 90 to 100 plus? Do you want to throw out there? Before I drop the hammer on
120 and 200 is where I'm going next.
All right, so let's hear your 120 guy.
We're going to go with the Gim Reaper, Doug Gim.
Doug Gim.
120.
Doug Gim, the birdie making machine.
God. If he's going to make a bunch of birdies this week, he's going to have to hole out a lot of iron shots and shots around the green because the dude can't sniff a flat putting week. If it saved his life, he lost 10 strokes on the green at Pebble Beach. But if there's a place where you could just get hot and start running putts in on these perfect greens at TPC Scottsdale,
they're flat.
They're flat. They're true. And, you know, he's going to be rock solid on approach. And like I said, if you just even that out, you even out those 10 strokes lost at Pebble, and he might be in the mix. So Doug Gim, 120 to 1.
So I like your Doug Gim until I filter by Bermuda greens. Woof. He went from 33rd to 150th just by filtering before Bermuda.
These are overseeded. They're not as funky.
No, they're not Florida Bermuda by any stretch. My guy might be the same as your guy at 200 to 1. That's Joe Highsmith, Mr. Bucket Hat here. I really like his game. Really hot player. Again, very aggressive young player. I just really like him. Number 7 in my model, number 1 in the par 4 distances I'm focused on, and number 4 in birdies are better gained in this field with how I've filtered things. Joe Highsmith, 200 to 1. I think he's going to be live for a top 20 bet for sure. And I'll throw a couple bucks on his outright because I do think if he gets hot, he's just as good upside wise as anybody on tour. We're going to hear this name a lot more going forward.
200 to 1. I have another Minnesotan, Frankie Sappin, the third.
But Frankie Sappin's been mentioned on the show twice already this season from Connor. And so I'm glad that somebody else is coming on the show to mention Frankie Sappin.
I'm not trying to be a homer here, and I know
Frankie Sappin.
There is something to that. I'm not trying to be a homer. The bag is, I think he's out of the bag a little bit as a PGA Tour rookie, as a dude with a ton of firepower, lots of length, ability to generate birdies in bunches. I got him 4th in my model, strokes gained putting, Bermuda, 26th in birdie or better. It's tough. The guy's played 3 golf tournaments this year on the PGA Tour, but he's got 3 cuts made. He finished 56th at Torrey. He finished 12th at the Amex and 45th at the Sony. Having a decent season for a rookie, can fill it up. You go all the way down to 200 to 1, but you can go in, Frankie Sappin, top 10 plus 1100. We're taking you're asking for some long shots. I think this is a guy that can shoot 61.
Firepower. I really like it because both times that Connor was throwing out the name Frankie Sappin, I was like, all right, what's the deal with Frankie Sappin? He's like, he bombs it. And this dude is a savant with the putter. And so putting is his strong suit. Apparently he's in the same school of putting as Taylor Montgomery, but he actually can swing the club too. So I'm glad. So if you get Taylor Montgomery with any golf swing at all, you get Frankie Sappin, and that's got a lot of upside. I'm with you there. That's a really nice bet to throw out there, especially to wrap the show up. Minnesota, shout out. All right. This has been the 19th hole. Mike, who's going to win this thing, and what it will be the winning score?
Scottie Scheffler, 23 under.
Wow. Really hot take there. And the Chiefs are going to win and cash my plus 586. Let's go.
It's not going to win me any money, but you asked for the winner.
That's true. Scottie Scheffler. Let's do the non-Scottie market.
The non-Scottie market. Man, I like to go a little bit deeper here. I think anyone in that range, kind of 50, 60, wouldn't be surprised if it was Nick Taylor. Wouldn't be surprised if it was Minwoo Lee. Honestly, wouldn't be surprised if it was Luke Clanton. I really like that range this week. From a betting standpoint, not necessarily from a DFS standpoint, but I think one of those guys, if it's the non-Scotty market, I want somebody that's hungry.
Yeah, last time I got this kind of feeling about Kurt Kitayama, it was Bay Hill 2 years ago. That's not a gut feeling I'm going to ignore. Nobody had Kurt Kitayama that week except for me. 250 to 1 that week. Obviously 50, 60 to 1 is not going to be the same. But Kurt Kitayama at 19 under par is going to be my pick here in the non-Scotty market.
Good stuff.
All right. Thanks for joining us, Mike. Next week we're going back to Torrey Pines for the Genesis, which would normally be at Riviera, but we're going to play Torrey again. Not bad. I like the South Course that much. It's going to be fun. We'll have lots of good stats to dive into as well. Mike, if you're not with us next week, best of luck to you in the Listener League for RTG. Shout out Reading the Green. Been cashing my tickets for a couple of years now.
Bring it on. Bring it on. We have RTG will have a pod next week, and you will get a healthy shout out if you can hit the podium 3 weeks in a row.
Let's do it. All right. Join us next week for the Genesis. Hopefully Connor's alive by then.